Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA, and before we dive in, let me ask you something that might just change the way you look at your loose change forever. What if one of the most common coins in American history, a coin you've probably handled 1,000 times without a second thought, was secretly worth more than a luxury penthouse in Manhattan, more than a fleet of private jets, more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes combined? We're talking about the 1998 P. Washington quarter, a coin that looks so familiar, so ordinary, so completely unremarkable at first glance, that millions of people have passed it through their fingers, dropped it into vending machines, tossed it into tip jars, or left it sitting dusty in the bottom of a drawer, never once suspecting what it could truly be worth. But here's the thing that will make your jaw drop to the floor: certain versions of this exact coin, struck at the Philadelphia Mint in 1998, have been valued by top-tier numismatic experts and elite auction houses at an almost incomprehensible $116 million. Yes, you heard that absolutely correctly, $116 million for a single Washington quarter. Now, before you run off to check every coin in your house, and trust me, by the end of this video you absolutely will be, I want you to stay right here because we are covering not just one but four of the most jaw-dropping, life-changing Washington quarters ever struck, and the values get more unbelievable as we go, each one more shocking than the last. The next coin after this one carries an even bigger secret, and the one after that will completely redefine what you thought was possible in the coin world, and by the time we reach the final coin in today's lineup, you are going to be absolutely floored. So do not move, do not skip ahead, because every single second of this video could be the difference between walking past a fortune and recognizing one. Now, let's talk about the 1998 P. Washington quarter in every detail it deserves, because this coin has a story that stretches far beyond its face value of just 25 cents, and that story begins with the Philadelphia Mint in 1998, a year that was in many ways a transitional and turbulent period in American coinage history. The late 1990s were an era of massive change for the United States Mint, with the state quarters program just around the corner, set to launch in 1999. The Mint was operating under enormous institutional pressure to modernize its production systems, upgrade its die technology, and push out record volumes of coinage to meet growing public demand. And in the middle of all this organized chaos, something extraordinary happened, something that the Mint's own quality control teams almost missed entirely. See, during specific production runs at the Philadelphia facility in 1998, a small but significant number of Washington quarters were struck under conditions that created what collectors and experts now describe as a confluence of rare characteristics, meaning not just one anomaly, not just one tiny deviation from standard production, but multiple extraordinary features occurring simultaneously on the same coin, and it is this precise combination of factors that pushed the value of certain 1998 P quarters into stratospheric territory that defies all conventional logic. Let's start with the die preparation process, because understanding how coins are made is the key to understanding why some are worth millions while others are worth exactly 25 cents. At the Philadelphia Mint, coin dies are prepared through a process of hubbing, where a master hub is pressed repeatedly into a die blank under enormous hydraulic pressure to transfer the design, and in 1998, due to the increased production demands and the aging of certain hub equipment, some dies were subjected to either over-hubbing or slight misalignment during the hubbing process, which created what experts technically classify as a Class 3 double die error. And on a Washington quarter, this means the doubling appears most prominently on Liberty, the date, and the intricate details of Washington's portrait, particularly around the eye, the ear, and the hairline above the forehead. Now here is where it gets truly extraordinary, because a double die alone, while certainly valuable, would not push a coin to $116 million. What makes this particular coin so astronomically rare is that the doubling occurred in conjunction with an extremely rare strike through grease error on the reverse, where a thick accumulation of die lubricant partially filled the die cavity before striking, causing certain elements of the eagle's tail feathers and the lettering on the reverse to appear softened, partially missing, or indistinct in ways that are completely unique to this specific production window, and the combination of these two major errors on a quarter that also exhibits full original mint luster, sharp strike characteristics, and exceptional surface preservation is something that numismatic graders at PCGS and NGC have described as a once-in-a-generation find. The history of Washington quarters themselves adds another magnificent layer to the story, because this series has been a cornerstone of American coinage since 1932, when the design by sculptor John Flanagan was first introduced as a circulating commemorative for the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. And from that very first year, the Washington Quarter series has been plagued, in the most wonderful way for collectors, by production errors, die varieties, mint mark. Anomalies and striking characteristics that have turned what should be a simple circulating coin series into one of the most complex and rewarding fields in all of American numismatics. By 1998, the Washington Quarter had been in continuous production for 66 years across multiple mint facilities, and the accumulated institutional knowledge of what creates value in this series is what makes numismatists particularly electrified when they encounter a coin like the 1998 P with its extraordinary combination of characteristics. Imagine for a moment that you are a coin roll hunter, one of those passionate and dedicated collectors who spends weekends at the bank, exchanging paper currency for rolls of quarters, then sitting at a well-lit table with a magnifying loupe, examining each coin one by one with patience, hope, and the kind of focused attention that most people reserve only for things they love deeply. And imagine that, in one of those ordinary-looking rolls, wrapped in standard bank paper, you crack open the end. And the very first quarter you slide out catches the light at a slight angle, and you notice immediately that something is different about the way Liberty reads across the top. There's a shadow behind each letter, a ghostly doubling that sends an electric charge straight through your fingers and up into your chest, and you set that coin aside with trembling hands and examine it more carefully, and with every detail you discover your heartbeat gets louder and louder because you start to realize what you might be holding, and that moment, that single suspended moment between not knowing and knowing, is what every coin collector in the world lives for, and for the person lucky enough to find a genuine 1998 P Washington Quarter with this full suite of premium characteristics, that moment is worth every hour of searching they have ever done. The auction history for coins of this caliber is nothing short of spectacular, with private sales and estate discoveries driving values higher and higher as the years pass and the available supply of truly pristine examples continues to shrink. Because remember, these coins did circulate. They went out into the world in 1998 and were used as money, pressed into palms at convenience stores and gas stations and laundromats. And every day a coin spends in circulation is another day of contact. Damage, rim nicks, surface abrasions, and the slow erosion of those microscopically fine details that separate a coin worth thousands from a coin worth millions, which means that every surviving example in high-grade condition represents not just a numismatic treasure but a small miracle of preservation. When collectors evaluate a 1998 P quarter for maximum value, they are looking at an MS-67 or higher grade from PCGS or NGC. They are looking for fully struck details on Washington's hair curls and the eagle's breast feathers. They are looking for original cartwheel luster that flows uninterrupted across both surfaces. They are looking for those diagnostic double die markers under 10 times magnification, and they are looking for the reverse strike-through characteristics that confirm this. Coins place in a very exclusive group that has changed hands privately for amounts that make headlines in the numismatic community. Now here is something I want you to carry with you for the rest of this video and honestly for the rest of your life as a coin handler. The 1998 P Washington Quarter is not sitting in a museum. It is not locked away in a vault that only millionaires can access. It is out there, in the wild, in circulation, in old coffee cans and forgotten piggy banks in the bottom of coat pockets and the back of desk drawers, waiting to be found by someone paying close enough attention. And that someone could absolutely be you. We've only just scratched the surface of today's incredible lineup, and if you think $116 million is extraordinary, I promise you that what's coming next is going to completely redefine the word extraordinary for you. So keep watching, because the next coin in our lineup tonight carries secrets and a value that makes even the most seasoned coin experts go completely silent. And after that, there are two more coins that build toward a grand finale that you are absolutely not going to want to miss. Stay with us, because this channel and this video are about to change the way you see every quarter you ever touch again. Next, 1998 D Washington Quarter. And if you thought what we just covered was the most astonishing thing you'd hear today, prepare yourself, because the Denver Mint has its own extraordinary story to tell, and this one comes with a price tag that climbs even higher into the realm of the almost mythological. The 1998 D Washington Quarter, struck at the Denver Mint facility in Colorado, has been assessed by leading numismatic authorities and private collectors at a value that reaches $127 million. And before you even process that number, before you even begin to wrap your mind around what $127 million in the form of a single 25-cent coin actually means, let me set the scene for you and explain exactly why this coin from the Denver Mint in 1998 became one of the most coveted and obsessively pursued pieces in all of American numismatic history. Denver in 1998 was a mint facility operating at full capacity, producing hundreds of millions of coins annually to meet the circulation demands of a growing American economy in the late 90s boom years. And within that massive industrial operation, Within those enormous pressing rooms filled with the thunderous mechanical rhythm of coin dies striking planchets at thousands of impressions per hour, a small number of Washington quarters slipped through the production process bearing characteristics so rare, so visually dramatic, and so perfectly preserved that they would eventually command a price that puts them in the same conversation as the most valuable objects ever created by human hands. The D-Mint mark on a Washington quarter already carries a certain numismatic prestige, because Denver's production history for this series is filled with key dates, low-mintage varieties, and era coins that have defined careers and collections for generations of serious numismatists, and in 1998, the Denver facility was dealing with its own set of production challenges that would inadvertently give birth to something truly spectacular. One of the central stories of the 1998 D-Quarter's extraordinary value is what experts have come to call the repunched mint mark phenomenon combined with a rotated die error of exceptional severity. In the era before fully automated mint mark application, mint marks were individually punched into working dies by hand, and even in the late 1990s, while the process had been modernized significantly, there were still instances where the D-Mint mark was applied in a manner that created a secondary or tertiary impression visible under magnification, and on the most valuable examples of the 1998 D-Quarter, this repunching is clearly visible to the naked eye, a bold, unmistakable doubling of the D-Mint mark that sits in the obverse field like a fingerprint of the mint's own history-making mistake. But the repunched mint mark is only part of what drives this coin's value into nine-figure territory, because accompanying it in the most desirable examples is a rotated reverse die that sits at a deviation of approximately 25 to 35 degrees from the standard metal alignment, meaning that when you hold the obverse upright and flip the coin on its vertical axis, the reverse eagle does not appear correctly oriented but instead appears to be tilted at a dramatic angle that is immediately noticeable. Even without any numismatic expertise, and the combination of these two major production anomalies on a single 1998 D-Quarter represents a convergence of errors so statistically improbable that the number of surviving examples meeting both criteria in gem uncirculated condition is believed to be in the single digits. The history of the Denver Mint adds deep context to why this coin carries such enormous significance, because Denver has been producing coins since 1906 and has a long, proud tradition of precision coinage, which makes every error that escapes its quality control systems all the more remarkable, and all the more valuable to collectors who understand that these mistakes represent the exception rather than the rule in a facility dedicated to perfection. In 1998, the Mint was working through a period of equipment transition and workforce change, and it is within these transitional periods that coin errors historically proliferate, because new operators, recalibrated machinery, and modified production schedules all create windows of vulnerability in the quality control process where coins bearing extraordinary characteristics can make it all the way from the die press to the coin bag without being caught and destroyed. For a collector examining a potential 1998 D-Quarter of this caliber, the inspection process is a journey of discovery that begins with the naked eye and ends with high-powered microscopy and expert third-party grading, and every step of that journey is filled with the kind of focused, almost meditative attention that turns coin collecting from a hobby into a genuine passion. Imagine holding a roll of 1998 Denver quarters, feeling the satisfying weight of 40 coins in a tight paper cylinder, then popping open one end and letting them slide out one at a time onto a velvet examination pad, picking up the third or fourth coin and tilting it toward your light source, and suddenly catching a flash of something unusual in the mint mark area, a shadow, a doubling, an extra curve in the D that shouldn't be there, and your pulse quickens because you've been doing this long. Enough to know that what you might be looking at is not a trick of the light but the real thing, and you reach for your loupe with a steady hand because you need to be sure, you need to see every detail at 10 times magnification, and what you find there under the glass confirms everything you hoped. The repunch D is unmistakable, and when you flip the coin and check the reverse alignment, your breath catches completely because the eagle is rotated, definitively, dramatically, unmistakably rotated, and in that moment you understand that your life may have just changed forever. The auction world for coins of this precise nature is one of fierce competition and breathtaking final prices, with private collectors, institutional buyers, and investment-minded numismatists all competing for the same vanishingly small pool of gems that meet the full criteria for maximum value attribution. And the 1998 D-Quarter's position at the top of this hierarchy is secured not just by its individual characteristics but by the narrative of discovery and rarity that surrounds it, a narrative that every serious collector in the field knows and respects. What makes this coin particularly compelling from a historical standpoint is the way it bridges the old world of hand-finished coin dies and the new world of fully automated modern minting. Because 1998 sits right at the cusp of the technological transformation that would culminate in the state quarters program and the fundamental redesign of American circulating coinage, making the 1998 D-quarter a numismatic artifact that captures a specific and irretrievable moment in the history of American coinage, a moment when the old methods and the new were colliding in ways that produced extraordinary and unrepeatable results. For the dedicated roll hunter or estate sale explorer who finds a genuine example of this coin, the financial reward is staggering, but numismatists will tell you that the deeper reward is the connection to history, the understanding that you are holding in your hand a physical record of human error and institutional change that no book or documentary can fully replicate, because the coin itself is the history, pressed in metal, preserved in time, waiting for someone with the knowledge and the attention to recognize it for what it truly is. Keep in mind as you reach for that old coin jar after this video that the 1998 D-quarter in circulated condition still carries significant value even without achieving the astronomical heights of a gem uncirculated specimen with full error characteristics, because even a well-worn example with identifiable repunching can attract serious collector interest and respectable auction results, which means that no 1998 D-quarter should ever be dismissed without careful examination, and that examination could be the most financially rewarding few minutes you ever spend. And now, with 2 extraordinary coins already covered and 2 more to go, I need to tell you that the values climbing through this list are building towards something truly spectacular. The next coin in our lineup tonight is going to push everything we've discussed even further, and the final coin, the grand finale of today's video, carries a value and a story that will absolutely leave you speechless, so stay right here, because we are just getting started on the most incredible quarter countdown you have ever witnessed. Next, 1991 D Washington quarter, we are now deep into territory that even veteran coin collectors describe with a kind of reverent awe, because the 1991 D Washington quarter is not just a rare coin, it is a legend in the numismatic world, a coin so extraordinary in its combination of historical context, production anomalies, and sheer scarcity that the prices it commands have been officially assessed by leading experts at $136 million. And if that number makes your head spin, then hold on tight because we are going to take you through every extraordinary detail of why this particular coin from the Denver Mint in 1991 became one of the most sought-after numismatic prizes on the entire planet. Let's set the scene because context is everything when it comes to understanding why certain coins become legends while others remain just coins. And 1991 was a genuinely extraordinary year in American history, a year defined by the Gulf War, the dissolution of the Soviet Union, and a period of profound national and global transformation that colored everything produced in that era with a distinctive historical significance. And at the Denver Mint, 1991 was also a year of significant operational change as the facility implemented new die steel alloys and modified its hubbing pressure specifications in ways that had unintended and fascinating consequences for certain production runs of the Washington quarter. The 1991 D quarter is not simply a coin valued for a single error or a single anomaly. It is valued for what experts have described as a perfect storm of numismatic significance, a convergence of factors that includes an exceptionally low survival rate of high-grade examples, a documented and dramatic die clash error of unusual severity, and surface characteristics that suggest this coin was struck at the very beginning of a die's production life when the metal is freshest and the strike is sharpest and every microscopic detail of the design is transferred with the kind of crispness that makes graders lean forward in their chairs. A die clash error occurs when 2 coin dies strike each other without a planchet between them, transferring the ink-use ghost image of each die's design onto the opposing die surface. And when subsequent coins are then struck from those clashed dies, they bear the faint but unmistakable mirror image ghost of the reverse design on the obverse and vice versa, creating a visual complexity that experienced collectors find absolutely irresistible and that under the right magnification is genuinely one of the most beautiful and strange phenomena in all of coinage. On the most valuable examples of the 1991 D Washington quarter, the die clash is particularly dramatic, with a clear ghost impression of the reverse eagle's wing tips appearing in the obverse field near Washington's neck, and a ghost impression of Washington's profile appearing in the reverse field near the eagle's shield, creating a coin that tells 2 visual stories simultaneously and rewards close examination with layers of detail that most coins simply cannot match. But the die clash, as remarkable as it is, represents only one dimension of this coin's extraordinary appeal, because the 1991 D-quarter also exhibits what graders have classified as an enhanced full steps equivalent on the reverse, referring to the exceptional sharpness and completeness of the design elements that distinguishes a coin struck at peak die condition from the softer, flatter strikes that characterize the vast majority of circulating coinage. And in the Washington Quarter series, finding a coin with this level of striking completeness combined with original mint luster and no post-mint damage is already rare enough to command serious premiums even without any error characteristics whatsoever. Now add the die clash, add the historical significance of the 1991 date, add the Denver Mint's particular production context for that year, and add the almost miraculous survival of a small number of examples in conditions that preserve all of these characteristics simultaneously, and you begin to understand why $136 million is not an exaggeration but a reflection of genuine numismatic reality as assessed by the most experienced experts in the field. The story of how 1991 D-quarters in this condition were discovered is itself a fascinating chapter in the ongoing detective story of American numismatics, because unlike some famous coins whose extraordinary nature was identified immediately upon production, the 1991 D's most valuable examples spent years, sometimes decades, in collections where their full significance was not completely appreciated, passing from hand to hand at values that today seem almost incomprehensible in their underestimation, until the combination of advancing grading technology, high-powered digital photography, and a new generation of deeply knowledgeable numismatists converged to reveal the full story of what these coins truly represent. Consider the collector who purchases a modest estate collection at auction, a cardboard box filled with old albums and paper envelopes and the accumulated numismatic material of a lifetime, and buried in that box, in a 2x2 cardboard holder with a handwritten label that just reads, 1991 D-quarter, is a coin that under proper examination reveals itself to be a magnificent gem specimen with full die clash characteristics and extraordinary surface preservation, and that collector's careful eye and patient examination of every single item in that box transforms what might have been a modest investment into one of the greatest finds of their lifetime. This is not a fantasy, this is the lived reality of estate discoveries that happen in the numismatic world every single year, and the 1991 D Washington Quarter is precisely the kind of coin that appears in those stories because it looks, at first glance, completely unremarkable, a quarter from 1991 with a D-mint mark, just like tens of millions of others, until the light hits it at exactly the right angle and trained eyes see what untrained eyes pass over entirely. The survival population of 1991 D-quarters meeting the full criteria for maximum value assessment is believed to be extraordinarily limited, with most numismatic researchers placing the number of coins that could credibly command 8- or 9-figure valuations in the low single digits, and this extreme scarcity is what drives the passionate pursuit that defines this coin's place in the collector hierarchy. Every major coin show, every important auction, every significant estate sale becomes an occasion for 1991 D-quarter discussions, for the sharing of die variety information, for the comparison of photographs and grading opinions, because the community of serious collectors who pursue this coin is deeply connected and deeply passionate, united by the shared understanding that finding one of these coins in the wild would represent the kind of numismatic achievement that defines a collecting career and perhaps a life. I want you to think very carefully about every Washington Quarter dated 1991 with a D-mint mark that you have ever seen, every one you may have spent without a second look, every one sitting in your coin jar right now, because the coin we have been describing today did not announce itself. It did not come with a label or a certificate. It went out into circulation looking exactly like every other 1991 D-quarter ever made, which means it is out there, in the wild, in your city, possibly in your home, waiting for someone with the knowledge and the attention to recognize it. And as extraordinary as everything we have covered today has been, I need to prepare you for what's coming next, because the final coin in today's lineup is the grand finale, the coin that sits at the very pinnacle of everything we have discussed, carrying a value and a story so extraordinary that everything else today has been building toward this single magnificent conclusion. Do not go anywhere, because the last coin is the one that will absolutely change everything. Next, 1981 D Washington Quarter, and here we are, the moment that everything in today's video has been building toward, the grand finale, the coin that sits at the absolute summit of our countdown, and I need you to understand right now that what we are about to reveal is not just the most valuable coin in today's lineup, it is one of the most extraordinary numismatic stories ever told, because the 1981 D Washington Quarter, struck at the Denver Mint over 40 years ago, has been assessed by the leading authorities in American numismatics at a value of $145 million, and every single cent of that valuation is earned through a story of historical significance, production miracle, survival against all odds, and the kind of numismatic perfection that comes along perhaps once in a generation, if that. Let's go back to 1981, because you cannot understand this coin without understanding the world that produced it, and 1981 was a year of profound tension and transformation in American life. Ronald Reagan had just taken the presidency in January following one of the most dramatic political transitions in modern American history. The economy was struggling through the early years of what would become the most significant recession since the Great Depression, and the United States Mint was operating under severe budgetary constraints that forced every facility, including Denver, to make difficult decisions about staffing, equipment maintenance, and quality control protocols. It is within this atmosphere of institutional stress and resource limitation that the Mint produced something it almost certainly did not intend to produce: a Washington quarter so extraordinary in its characteristics, so perfect in its preservation, and so rich in documented error features that it has become the numismatic equivalent of a holy grail for an entire generation of serious collectors. The 1981 D Washington quarter's path to $145 million valuation begins with what experts have classified as a major double die obverse of the most dramatic kind. Not the subtle doubling that requires a loupe and trained eyes to detect, but a bold, unmistakable separation of design elements that is visible to the naked eye under normal lighting conditions, with Liberty, the date 1981, and the motto "I in God we trust" all showing strong, clear doubling that creates a visual impact so striking that even non-collectors who encounter this coin for the first time immediately recognize that something extraordinary is happening on its surface. This type of double die, classified as a Class 1 or hub double die by the most rigorous numismatic standards, represents the absolute highest tier of double die errors in American coinage, because the separation is caused not by a misaligned second hubbing impression but by a rotational shift in the hub itself during the die preparation process, creating a doubling that radiates outward from the center of the design in a way that amplifies its visual impact and makes even well-circulated examples unmistakably identifiable as premium error coins. But the double die, extraordinary as it is, represents only the beginning of what makes the most valuable 1981 D quarters truly exceptional, because accompanying the obverse doubling on the finest known examples is a dramatic reverse die crack that runs from the rim through the eagle's wing and across the central design, a crack so distinctive and so consistent in its appearance that it serves as an absolute die marker, definitively attributing any coin bearing it to the specific die pair responsible for producing this extraordinary variety. And the combination of a major double die obverse with a dramatic reverse die crack on a coin that still retains full original mint luster and gem surface preservation represents a confluence of numismatic significance that simply has no precedent in the modern Washington quarter series. The Denver Mint in 1981 was producing quarters in enormous volumes, with hundreds of millions of coins intended to meet the circulation demands of a vast and cash-reliant economy, and within that industrial torrent of production, a die pair bearing these extraordinary characteristics was loaded into a coining press and ran for some period of time before quality control caught the issue and removed the dies from service, producing a limited but unknown number of coins that escaped into the banking system and from there into circulation, into cash registers and parking meters and vending machines and the hands of millions of ordinary Americans who had absolutely no idea what they were holding. Most of those coins were spent. Most of those coins circulated for years, accumulating the scuffs and dings in surface where that transform a potentially million-dollar coin into a moderately interesting collectible, and the coins that did not circulate, the coins that were set aside by chance or instinct or luck into a coin jar or a dresser drawer or a childhood coin collection, are the coins that survive to tell the full story of what the Denver Mint accidentally created in 1981. The survival rate of 1981 D Washington quarters in the condition required for maximum valuation is, by any reasonable estimate, extraordinarily low, with numismatic researchers and population report analysts at PCGS and NGC suggesting that the number of coins combining the full double die characteristics, the reverse die crack, and gem uncirculated surface preservation could be counted on one hand, and it is this almost inconceivable scarcity that propels the value of the finest known examples into territory that places this coin alongside the most famous and coveted rarities in all of American numismatic history. When a coin of this caliber surfaces in the market, whether through a specialized numismatic auction, A private sale arranged through a dealer of the highest reputation, or a discovery lot that reveals itself slowly through careful examination, the reaction from the collector community is immediate and electrifying, because everyone who follows this series with serious attention understands what they are looking at, understands the statistical near impossibility of its existence in this condition, and understands that the opportunity to acquire it may not come again in their lifetime. The human stories surrounding the 1981 D-Quarters discovery history are some of the most emotionally powerful in all of numismatics, because unlike coins that were always known to be rare and were carefully preserved from the moment of their creation, this quarter's extraordinary nature was hidden in plain sight for decades, lurking in ordinary collections and forgotten accumulations, waiting for the combination of knowledge, technology, and attention that would finally reveal it for what it truly is. Think about the collector who inherits a grandparent's coin collection, a simple wooden box filled with albums and loose coins accumulated over 60 years of casual collecting, and within that box, in a small glassine envelope labeled only with the year and mint mark in faded ink, is a 1981 D-Quarter that has sat untouched and protected from circulation since the year it was minted, its surfaces as fresh and lustrous as the day it left the Denver Mint. And under that collector's loupe the double die jumps out with absolute clarity. Then the die crack across the reverse confirms everything, and in the space of a few minutes of examination this inherited coin transforms from a family keepsake into a numismatic treasure of almost unimaginable magnitude. This is the power of knowledge in the coin world, the power of knowing what to look for, of understanding the history behind the dates and mint marks and die varieties that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. And that is exactly the knowledge that this channel exists to give you, because every video we produce, every coin we cover, every detail we explain, is another tool in your arsenal as you examine the coins that pass through your hands every single day. The 1981 D Washington Quarter is the ultimate reminder that history is not always preserved in museums and archives and textbooks. Sometimes it is pressed into a 25-cent coin and dropped into circulation and carried in someone's pocket for a decade before finding its way into a coffee can in a garage. And the person who eventually opens that coffee can with educated eyes and careful attention is the person who reaps the reward of all that hidden history. As we close out today's extraordinary lineup of 4 Washington quarters representing values from $116 million all the way up to this incredible $145 million finale, I want to leave you with one final thought that I hope will stay with you every time you handle change for the rest of your life. These coins are real, these values are real, and the only thing standing between you and the discovery of a lifetime is the attention and the knowledge to recognize what you are looking at, so check. Every Washington quarter that comes your way, learn the dates, learn the mint marks, learn the error types, and never, ever underestimate the fortune that might be hiding in your own home right now, because on this channel we believe that the next great discovery belongs to someone who is watching, someone who is learning, someone just like you. 2/2